Police broke stoplight and nearly kill me. Mash up me car and me body and me kidney. If I never TV cheer, them charge me like Ratney. I be corruption. I go on in the country. Police broke stoplight and nearly kill me. Mash up me car and me body and me kidney. If I never TV cheer, them charge me like Ratney. Yeah, check it out.
A very pleasant good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the People's Forum of In the Streets with Big Stone. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the death penalty. I know the death penalty is on the lips of every single Jamaican, and you all have every right to want to do something to stem this massive flow of bloodletting that we have been experiencing for quite a number of years. But ladies and gentlemen, can the death penalty be a reliable source for all? And when I say all, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about justice for all. We wouldn't want a death penalty, ladies and gentlemen, that just the poorer class of Jamaica will fall prey to. Because you know, there's a lot of cases out there, ladies and gentlemen, that people of what we call quote-unquote high society have been let go, sometimes free. And when you really check the circumstances, some of these high-profile cases are guilty as charged. But because of their money, their ability to get high-profile lawyers, they get away with a slap on the wrist. There's one case pending, ladies and gentlemen, about a prominent lawyer who is now barred from practicing law. And someone that works within his establishment, his household, was murdered. A single gunshot and possible stab wounds were given to this victim. And over a year, ladies and gentlemen, there was no sign of breaking or anything. And over a year, that case is yet to find someone to be charged of the capital charge of murder. Now, there are a number of cases that come to mind, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to refresh your memory just a little bit. There are three cases I'm going to talk about. One, I'm going to talk about a very good friend of mine, Kentucky Kid. Two, I'm going to talk about George Junius Stinney Jr., a young man from South Carolina, only 14 years old, ladies and gentlemen, when he was accused of murdering two young white girls, one 8 years old and one 11 years old. And in 84 days, quickly, one of the shortest trial in American history, in 1944, he was charged, brought before the court, and in 84 days he was executed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the story of Robert Hill, aka Kentucky Kid. Kentucky Kid was killed on December 8, 2009. He was a Jamaican entertainer who was shot dead by the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Hill had earlier filmed a previous incident in which police officers entered his house and confronted him and his wife, Komiko, who was 8 months pregnant at the time. He uploaded it to the video sharing website, YouTube, and showed it to the Jamaica Constabulary Force, but got little response from the police. His shooting attracted international attention and suspicion that it was in retaliation for the earlier incident. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to play a statement that he uploaded to YouTube, and it was condensed, ladies and gentlemen, for time. I'm going to set the original video in link down below so you can take a look in its entirety of what Kentucky Kid had to say before he was shot dead a few months later by the police.
Hello, Jamaica. I'm Robert Hill, aka Kentucky Kid. Right now, at this present moment, what I really want to say is that it's be corruption, thief, and liar police at Spanish Town Police Station. And I can't believe it's in every police station in Jamaica right now when I realize. The accident I was in, my car was stationary at the stoplight when the police car broke the stoplight That police wasn't conscious at the time. Driving so fast, seems to me you were intoxicated. Come and hit 3 cars and nearly kill me. Then them seize my car, never take me to doctor, and look how near the hospital is beside the police station. They refuse to take a statement from me same time. I went back to the station on Saturday to take pictures with my car and the police car so I could show my insurance the impact. The superintendent there said I can't take any pictures with the police car. So they asked me to leave the station and said I could only take picture with my car. On Sunday, July the 12th, when I went back to give a statement, I was harassed, jailed, and pushed out of the station by a next police officer, the station guard. Say why didn't I insist to give the statement on the night of the accident. On the night of the accident, the investigation didn't want to take my statement. I tell him 1,000,000 times what happened, he didn't write it. He said I must come back on Monday. I did not know my rights at that time, that the only way your car is supposed to be examined is if your car were moving at the time. So that is the first corruption the police bring across to me. On the Monday when I called for my car, they said my car got to be examined by the examiner. But the examiner come to examine the car, but he left his book. And have me in the police station from 1 to 4 o'clock in the morning, still never take my statement. The investigation officer harassing me, dramatizing me, and telling me it's not possible for the police to mash up my car like that, and the police driver should be charged for careless and reckless driving. And they were drunk. No sober person could have do that, what he has done. I know I can't get any justice. All my car is going to fix, all my health is going to take care of. All the police are boasting that government car do not insure and is the worst vehicle to crash with. And Sergeant Gardner from Spanish Town Police Station and Inspector Allen from Alpha Tree Police Station. Because it seemed to like this. Every police want to kill me because they realize that I'm right and they are trying to cover up for their police friend. So, I'm Kentucky Kid, aka Robert Hill. Yeah, I have a little thing about it.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about George Junius Stinney Jr. George Junius Stinney Jr. was born on the 21st of October in 1929. He was a 14-year-old African American convicted of murder as a result of a racially biased and discriminatory trial in 1944 in his hometown of Al-Kulu, South Carolina. He was one of the youngest persons in the United States in the 20th century to be sentenced to death and to be executed. Stinney was convicted in less than 10 minutes during a one-day trial by an all-white jury of the first-degree murder of 2 white girls, 11-year-old Betty June Binnicker and 8-year-old Mary Emma Thames. After being arrested, Stinney was said to have confessed to the crime. There was no written record of his confession apart from notes provided by an investigating deputy, and no transcript was recorded of the brief trial. He was denied appeal and executed by electric chair. Since Stinney's conviction and execution, the question of his guilt, the validity of the reported confession, and the judicial process leading to his execution have been extensively criticized. A group of lawyers and activists investigated the Stinney case on behalf of his family. In 2013, the family petitioned for a new trial. On December 17, 2014, his conviction was posthumously vacated 70 years after his execution because the circuit court judge ruled that he had not been given a fair trial. He had no effective defense, and his Sixth Amendment rights had been violated. The judgment noted that while Stinney may in fact have committed the crime, the prosecution and trial were fundamentally flawed. Judge Mullen ruled that his confession was likely coerced and thus inadmissible. She also found that the execution of a 14-year-old constituted cruel and unusual punishment. Now let's dig a little bit deeper into George Jr. Stinney. Here was this young 14-year-old kid. He was 95 pounds, ladies and gentlemen, and he stood 5 feet 1 inches tall. There was no way on earth little George Stinney Jr. could kill, bludgeon to death two young girls, and then took their bodies on their bicycle over 300 yards in the broad daylight without being seen. And the appalling thing, ladies and gentlemen, that in less than 84 days, he was executed. Can you imagine if you're innocent and you're sitting there on death row? Can you imagine what must have been going through little Junior's mind? And I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, we know that the death penalty, everyone has been crying for it. But we cannot just administer the death penalty until we fix the corruption, until we fix the system that is unbalanced in Jamaica, until we have justice for all. Let's move on to the next case, ladies and gentlemen, and let's take a listen. The next story I'm going to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, is a story that happened recently. It happened somewhere in the countryside of Jamaica. I'm not too sure of which parish this actually happened. But we're talking about how people take the law into their own hand without first ascertaining that this was indeed factual. If you notice in the photograph at the beginning of the video, there was a young man that was tied, his hands were tied behind his back, and he was tied to a truck, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, if you notice the photograph very carefully, you will notice that this young man was actually smoking a cigarette, his hands were tied, and he was given the assurance, ladies and gentlemen, that everything is going to be okay. I cannot show you the pictures afterwards, ladies and gentlemen, but this young man was actually stoned to death. Gruesome death. But ladies and gentlemen, the death penalty. We know that the system is set up in such a way, ladies and gentlemen, that there's no guarantee that someone who is innocent will not be executed. And not until we can fix the judiciary system in this country where there is justice for all, right across the board. There should be justice for every single person that commits a crime in this country. The other day I did a video and I spoke very seriously to the youngsters about not accepting guns when guns are being offered to them, because it's a setup for them to annihilate themselves. But I'm also speaking directly to the parents. The parents, it is your responsibility. Parenting starts at home. It is your responsibility to take care of your child. And it's not just a situation where it is the mother alone. It is the father's responsibility as well. We must start to pay attention to where your children are. It is your responsibility. Look at what happened the other day also in the Trelawney Clarkstown area, where a young girl looked like about 12 to 14 years old went into a Chinese store and she was assaulted. All that has to do with parenting. The parent, as far as I'm concerned, did not follow suit with the lawsuit that was applied to this woman by the judiciary system. She was quickly arrested by the police, but then when the time come for her to show up in court, she just didn't show up in court, and that Chinese woman walked away free. Yes, we bawl about the death penalty. Yes, we say the crime rate is too high in this country. But yet still we as citizens of this country, we as the elders of this country are not doing a goddamn thing to stop it. We have to get back to when it takes a village to raise a child. I've told you that in many of my videos. And the 3 cases I spoke to you about, ladies and gentlemen, are cases of total injustice. A man is innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around. We cannot take the law into our own hands. And I can understand, ladies and gentlemen, how you feel the frustration of losing a loved one. So when you catch someone in the act of doing wrong, you take it upon yourself and just do what has to be done, you say, and take that person's life. Now, this young man, I'm not condoning with any form of crime whatsoever, but this particular young man that was standing in this photograph, smoking a cigarette, you could look at his face, ladies and gentlemen, and know that he was scared. Are you going to take a man's life for stealing a motor car? Jamaica, Jamaica. You're just as guilty of that gunman that walks into a crowded room and just start firing, because you're not judge, juror, or executioner. We think there's a judiciary system, and we call upon the government, we call upon the Minister of National Security to do the right thing to make sure justice is served. The punishment should fit the crime. If you commit an hideous crime, then your penalty must be severe. If you commit a crime that is not so hideous, then your penalty must show as such. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to take back this country. We cannot depend on the police department. We cannot depend on the military. We cannot depend on the government. We have to depend on ourselves. It is our responsibility. It is our duty as citizens of this great country to take this country back. You see what happened to little George Jr., Stinney Jr. 1944, a rush to justice. This young man was exonerated 70 years later for a crime that he did not commit. And the most appalling thing about George Jr.'s justice, and the most appalling thing, ladies and gentlemen, about this little man, on the day that they take him to be executed, he had his Bible in his hand. And as he walked to what they call Old Smoky, they took the Bible from him. They put him in the electric chair. He was such a tiny, frail young boy, 5 feet 1 inches, weighing 95 pounds. He could hardly fit for the headband to fit his head. So they took his Bible and they placed the Bible on the seat of Old Smoky, the electric chair. And he sat on that Bible, and they put that headband around him. And when the first jolt of electricity went to his brain, it shifted that big mask that he had on his face. What you saw, ladies and gentlemen, was the tear-filled eye of little George Jr. Stinney Jr. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not be quick to rush to justice. When we have the perpetrator, and we're sure this is the perpetrator by all preponderance of the evidence, then we should move towards taking him to the court and let the court take care of it. We cannot take the law into our own hands. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our country. Please pay attention to your children. You cannot just leave your children, go to a party, go to a dance, go to a session, and leave up your child just like that. And then you're trying to blame the child for getting out of hand. It is your responsibility. And what the government should start doing is locking up some of these parents. These parents, both male and female, who think they can just go out, have sex, produce this kid, and then don't care a damn about our children. Our children is the future. Wake up, Jamaica, and take care of our picnic them. We'll never forget George Jr., Stinney Jr. We'll never forget Kentucky Kid. And of course, the image of this young man, I don't even know his name, will always be in my mind. Thank you all very much for watching.